Today on the show, we meet somebody who is working to solve the teenage workforce problem. How's it going, everybody? Jason Croft here, the Credibility Craftsman, and as you see from the still image, if you're watching the video version of the show, that had a little technical difficulty out in the parking garage here recording the audio for this intro and outro of the show. So I wanted to make sure we did this justice and recorded a little bit better audio. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure you could see the great Skratch car here, because we are interviewing Scott Bennett. He is the co-founder of Skratch, which is an awesome app. It's a two-sided marketplace for teenagers looking for work, earn a little more money, and have that experience. Use their innate skill sets that so many of them have and are willing to share with the people who need them, people around their neighborhood, people at their churches, whether it's I need something moved in my yard to my son needs tutoring, right? It's one of those ideas that you look at, why hasn't this been done before, right? And that's really why Scott jumped in with this. He and his co-founder are both dads, and they saw this mounting problem of the lack of teenagers in the workforce. So they've jumped in. We dig into the how and exactly what all this is, but we also dig into the real problem that this is solving that I think is so important. And this episode is brought to you by Bubble, the amazing rideshare platform, serving kids 8 and older, folks with special needs, senior citizens. Their entire driving force are retired or off-duty police officers. They're doing an amazing job in the Metroplex right now and expanding well beyond that, providing this incredible service for the folks around here. They made this whole thing possible, this partnership with Skratch. As you can see, the Skratch Bubble vehicle there. And it's a perfect match. We get into some of that in this episode as well. So let's jump in with Scott Bennett. Scott Bennett, welcome to the show.
How are you, Jason?
I am fantastic. I've had my corn dog and mac and cheese breakfast, and I'm ready to go.
I feel safe already.
Yeah. The best drivers, that's what they eat for breakfast.
Well, I didn't know that, but we'll find out now, won't we?
Yeah, I know. It's big talk, right? So, I am so excited to have Scott on the show. We are in the Skratch Bubble car, which is a blast. And by the time they see the intro, they'll have seen the outside of this bad boy. And so tell us a little bit about Skratch first, and then I want to dig into so much about who you are and how this got started.
So Skratch is sort of a 2018 business, right? We rely so much on apps, and even more than that, we're seeing demand economy businesses explode. This is our answer to the decline of the teen worker. We basically have built a mobile application that meets teens where they are, have created a mobile experience for them to find first work opportunities. So Skratch really addresses that, meeting today's busy teenager with a chance to work because they haven't been for so long.
Oh, that's great. So how does that, what's the kind of two-sided marketplace that you're building here for folks to have the more of a context?
Sure. So it behaves like a lot of marketplaces. People are really familiar with Uber and Lyft at this point. Mm-hmm. And so there's registration. And what's unique to our app is that a teen can opt in with predefined and pre-priced gigs that they think they're good at. So if I'm a teen that can read French or I'm good at a sport, I can share that skill and actually make money sharing that skill. So I opt in for that at the beginning, and then as those opportunities become available in a geography, I'm notified as a teenager, hey, somebody wants me to walk a dog or come over and help them clean a garage. If I've opted in with that skill, I'm made aware that there's somebody that wants it. And on the other side, the adults have a menu to choose from of a variety of services. They opt in with registration for who they are, where they live, mm-hmm. and then they can use the app as often as they want to, leveraging the services of teenagers.
Oh, that's great. And it's all, dialed in from distance and
so there's a lot of obviously proprietary stuff that we built in the experience. Safety first.
Sure.
As a dad of 2 teenagers, right? We couldn't build something. Ronen, my partner, and I knew very quickly that what had to be extremely well thought out was how we deliver the safe experience. But then beyond that, it uses things like distance filtering of areas. We can even create group settings. So we have churches and schools using the Skratch app as a tool for them to reach their members.
So they could operate completely just within like church members and with the students there.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it's really, I think what people expect today, quite honestly. I think we're relying more and more on the removal of a dispatch, right? We don't call a third party to set up this. So teens mark themselves as available for something, and adults, when they need something, know how to do that now.
Yeah.
So all we've done is open up a workforce that, by the way, has always existed, but never in this fashion and never specifically for this demographic.
So I think this is fantastic. What's the problem that this is solved, that you're just like, I got to make this?
Well, I had 2 daughters, and I grew up working, and Ronen grew up working. And as a parent, I didn't see the same opportunities or even the same approach to working for today's teenagers. I didn't know how substantial the problem was, but I came to find out it was over 40 years of decline of teens working. And I remember working and the importance of it. And so as a parent, you send your kids to school knowing they're going to get core subjects, but it's those soft skills that they don't get that we learn from working.
Oh, without a doubt. What do you attribute that to, or what have you researched and come up with that kind of the reason behind? I mean, in one hand, it doesn't matter. Like, we're going to solve a problem, the problem exists. Right. But I think it's fascinating too, as a dad as well.
Well, I know from my own experience, like I didn't like working. When I was a young person, the first time that my parents said, "Hey, you've got to go earn your own way," that was a big lesson for me. But all these years later, here I am, an entrepreneur, right? That has started a business, and I can go back to that very first experience of earning to say that put me on a path. And so I know that as a dad, I've got to teach that same opportunity outlook to my daughters. I knew, and so did Ronen, that our friends, he has 3 kids and I have 2. We knew that if we had that problem, likely everybody we knew had the problem. The challenge was adults didn't know what to do to solve it in today's climate. The economy's been good. People are, kids are working less because they're more committed to the schoolwork, to their extracurriculars. When I played sports, it wasn't like it is now, where they spend hours upon hours, honing their craft in a way that we never did growing up. And the other real big challenge is that a rising minimum wage with a good economy makes it hard for kids to compete, because employers are paying more, and if they're paying more, they don't look at it as a teenager for somebody that they want to hire. They'd rather hire another worker who they think is more dependable.
That's an interesting point, with some experience and just maturity and all of those things. That's interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating too, because I just wanted to work from day one, like this high, right? I was just whatever that is, right? And my sons have they've shown some of that, but where I grew up and went around the neighborhood, like selling door to door at 8 years old, there's no way on the planet I'm letting my kids do that, right? And so it's a challenge too, even for the ones who do want to go work, right? What do I do? Just like you're talking about.
Well, I think you probably remember, the really enterprising young person, not too long ago, was putting flyers on a door, but now we don't want to talk to our neighbors, right? 55% of Americans say that they have no regular communication with their neighbors. They talk to them on social media or maybe at their church, but not their next door neighbor. We don't borrow a cup of sugar from anybody anymore, right? And so you don't know that Johnny 3 doors down is amazing at trigonometry, or you know what, he can help you because you've had a surgery and you need a little extra help watering your plants. Nobody thinks about that because we don't know what our neighbors are good at. We don't even know them, so we don't trust them.
Sure, absolutely. And I think this is just this is another great example though too of the opposite of the bad rap that social media and technology is getting and stuff like that. This is one more great way that it's actually bringing the real world together.
And that was something that didn't fall short on me when we started it. It's, as a parent, I know it's funny. The kids just starting back to school. The first thing that they get when they show up on campus to both my girls are in high school, before they meet their teachers, before they walk their schedule, before they do anything, they give them a technology device. They give them a Chromebook, and I think in a couple of years it's going to be a mobile as the costs come down. So we rely on technology. I mean, the schools rely on it to teach, and it's how young people discover the world, right? We read books, and I always say that we don't have encyclopedias anymore because we have Google, right? You can at your fingertips. And so this is one of those solutions that says, hey, fine, we're going to beat you at your own game, but we're going to meet you where you are, because they frankly expect this.
So once you identify this problem, what's step one in okay, I'm going to put this thing together?
It's funny. First of all, you have to decide, you want to see is like, and why has nobody done anything? I mean, we know there's this problem. What was the last great attempt to resolve it? And, you try to go research. So I actually found there was a woman in Minnesota, I think in 2010, that did sort of a web version of this. It didn't work the same, didn't behave the same because it wasn't mobile, and because of that, it's very tough up this body on, I think, probably. But we started to look at what would it entail, what would have to be built into it. We knew it was going to be based in mobile, and we just started to look at the landscape, and then we just started creating stories, right? The stories of, like, by that I mean the scenarios that somebody would experience, not all the way down from what do they want offline, what's the actual thing the service that they're asking for, to how does the app behave to meet that service. Everything from like canceling to booking to how do we pay through the app. I mean, all the features, because like I said, I've experienced that, with other apps, so you sort of know what you've come to expect.
Right. So you do the research side of that, and I also want to get into, like, what's your background? What's your background to say I'm going to jump in and do this? Sure.
Well, first and foremost, the thing that qualifies me is I'm a dad of two teenagers, right? I mean, like we like to say, we're dads first.
Yeah.
But before this, I spent most of my career in kind of disruptive marketing. I spent 4 years previous to starting Skratch working for video-based businesses that do crowdsource videos. So I always tell people, if you ever see the Doritos crash the Super Bowl, we took that sort of phenomenon of creators that live everywhere, all over the world, but are creating great ad campaigns, and brought it to scale. And so I learned how communities come around ideas and concepts they want to weigh in, sort of the idea that ideas can live everywhere. Yeah. And in that same idea, teens on your block are talented. There's, as you pass houses, you can say there's a guy that teaches French, there's a kid that's good at lacrosse, right? So you can leverage the power of your own community to provide services to you, and they're right next door or 3 doors down.
Right.
So my background was in disruption in a way, and I knew this was going to be highly disruptive in its own way, and so I leveraged that. And Ronen, my partner, is this is really the thing that drives our businesses. He's been a technologist since he was 15 years old. He's from Israel, where so much of the great technology comes from these days, and has been coding. And so I knew that he could, well, more importantly, he told me, there's no problem I can't solve with technology. So when a guy says that, it's like a pilot who tells you he can fly a plane. And I've known him a long time. We've been friends for a number of years before doing, the business together. That it was sort of, if you build it, they will come. I knew that we could build it, and so that it was a matter of educating the market and using so much of what I have done previously in my business and marketing to this business to sort of help people know Skratch is here. This is why you need it. This is what it solves for. That sort of thing.
And that's one of the hardest things to do in any business, but certainly when you're trying to fill both sides of this marketplace.
Right.
And so, what's worked so far?
Yeah.
And what stage? Sorry. What stage is Skratch in and development?
So I mean, what's unique to our business, I think, is that we always like to say we're going slow by design, and by that it's because we're dealing with young people and the safety. It's really important to make sure we deliver a great offline experience for the teenager, but more importantly, that we're delivering something of real value, or else it's not a good business at that point.
Right.
And so we're studying every transaction and taking our time. And in today's economic climate, people want you to have explosive growth, and that's just, while we would love that, this isn't that kind of phenomenon, because it's a re-education of a market. So in terms of the stage we're at, we're just really focused on the Dallas-Fort Worth marketplace and slow expansion. We expect in the next 3 to 6 months. In fact, we just released on the Android version on the Google Play Store Friday.
Oh, awesome.
So we didn't even have Android, which is 50% of the market.
Right.
We were really focused on making the best technical experience to match the best offline experience. And now that we've got Android, we can serve an entire market, and that's kind of our plan.
That's great.
And continuing to do things, the activities that early stage businesses do, surrounding it with investors and partnerships, and we're growing through a lot of really great strategic partnerships that are helping us educate the market in a more efficient and cost-effective way.
And how's that working? What are some of those?
Yeah, so we're working with a couple of churches. First United Methodist Church of Richardson is doing a pilot. We're piloting with Prince of Peace Christian School. We're working with Junior Achievement in Austin, Texas. So we these, what I like to say whole family-centered organizations where financial literacy or teaching personal finance was critical to their overall existence as an organization. We've now given them a better tool to integrate to do that more effectively.
So how are you getting the word out?
Yeah, so Obviously, people like you telling our story
Sure.
is everything. We've been fortunate that people really they understand that this is a problem, and I think they're glad to see that somebody's trying to solve it.
Yeah.
So that's, by its design, that's great.
Right.
But really, it's the stories of the teens that we share, the things that they do. We like to tell it through their eyes, through their lens. People can gravitate towards that. And it's like yesterday we heard over the weekend somebody had booked 2 gigs, a woman for her parent who had Parkinson's, and the teenager was over helping do a few different things around the house that otherwise would have happened. And that relationship of the young person, intergenerationally helping somebody with Parkinson's,
Wow.
you sometimes have nowhere to turn, or it's not cost effective and you just need an extra set of hands.
Right.
So people want to tell that story, and that's what's it's reminding people, hey, teens are good, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of good publicity, a lot of good PR, but then we educate a lot, we speak a lot, we try, any place that we can get a platform to talk about what the young people are doing, why they need to be doing it, the importance of first work. So we do conferences, and then we do traditional marketing, right? We've had some fun. We like to think we're great marketers. Our social presence is significant. So all of that is part of the recipe for us.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And now this partnership with Bubble, talk to me about that a little bit. How did that come about? And
Yeah. So I had actually seen Bubble before I started the business. I was familiar with it. There's other, companies that are trying to tackle the problem of the busy carpool need, right?
Right.
And the thing we share in common is, we deal with a lot of young families often, and then the other piece of it is safety. So we share that need to be safe. They use, off-duty police officers, and I love that,
right.
because it helps a family. And so then I started to see that they were doing cars, and I don't know how we read something about them and had a conversation and recognized that, obviously the car stands out.
Yeah.
People see it. It's funny, people, we have a promotion that we did recently where, send us on social media, a picture of the car driving, and we'll give you $100 in gas money.
Oh,
so we do
awesome.
some innovative stuff with it.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we like doing it, quite honestly, is that, and I shared this with the people at Bubble, is that we had done a billboard on the tollway, and it's amazing, the lowest tech approach to marketing was the most effective because it was creative. Our colors are bright, the blue and yellow really stand out. So we thought this was a great opportunity, and I know they're trying to, they like to use the vehicles as, good advertising mechanism. So.
Oh yeah, and it was interesting too, the correlation between the way you're both growing as well.
Right.
Is that I know Paul and his team were also very much purposeful in their slow growth. Like, let's figure this out, and then this, and then this.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, Dallas is a great place to prove businesses like this.
Yeah.
We've got, it's expansive for one, so traveling, in their case, getting from A to B for parents is hard. Other cities it's a traffic issue. Here it's just the vastness of activities and 2 working parents, that sort of thing. Hard to get carpool accomplished.
Right, the 9,200 square miles of Metroplex.
Right, so I think they were solving a problem.
Yeah.
But I liked it, given everything that's gone on with the police, especially here, it hits close to home with us, right? Having shootings. And so knowing that we're giving police officers an opportunity to earn more because we know they don't earn enough money for keeping us safe. I believe in that. And so I want to support a business that does that. And I know they're good entrepreneurs. Very, very nice people. So there was an alignment there. And then the purposeful approach that we're both taking to say, let's get it right, I think is just what you have to do.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be patient, quite honestly. But I think the long term of that is a much more successful business. If you're in a hurry, it shows.
Oh yeah. So how do you see this evolving, both from a desire and then what you've seen, and what's been different? What's been like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah, it's a great question. The long term of this is we want to expand and serve the broadest possible population.
Mm-hmm.
We know that 9 of 10 kids, regardless of socioeconomics, has a mobile device, whether an Android or an iPhone. So there's no barrier for us. There's no boundary for us not to be able to reach kids that maybe otherwise would be turned away. Because it's one of the things people don't realize is no teens are working. But below median income teens are 3 to 4 times less likely than their counterparts in an above median income household. And so being able to reach a broad population is one. And that doesn't just mean broad from across the U.S. and globally. That means any teen with ambition should be working, and we want to give them an opportunity if they're motivated.
Yeah.
But what I didn't expect was how long it was going to take for people to, everybody validates that this is a good idea, and we love that and we appreciate that. But it's the challenge is the conversion from I know this is a good idea and a good thing to, hey, I'm going to engage and use this.
Right, because it's not like, oh yeah, I need this every week, so I'm going to buy it now.
Right.
Like, it has to kind of get filed back, and then, oh yeah. And there's so many different scenarios.
Yeah. And as a guy who's spent a lot of years around marketing, you feel like, oh, I know exactly how it's going to go. But the reality is it never is that way.
Right.
You just can't predict how the market will embrace. And that's why, like, you'll see a fidget spinner be, so successful. And you're like, what? And it's,
Right.
lightning in a bottle moment. And this isn't lightning in a bottle. I think that's slow and steady. But being patient for the market to sort of catch up to the validation
Right.
is not, is not for the faint of heart.
Right, exactly. So what's next step? What has to happen for that next phase of growth? And
yeah, I mean, look, I think the biggest thing for us now is proving that these partnerships that have such broad-based reach, these churches, because they help us reach people at a low cost.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's responsible today to try to consumer market. I just don't think people are attracted to consumer businesses because they take so long, and consumers are hard.
Sure.
They change their minds. So by giving a tool, a better resource to these organizations that have such great reach, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, right? I could start naming organizations. You're like, yeah, I get it. So, and in certain aspects, we behave like a software, right? Because all really mobile is, an app is a doorway into a software experience, right?
Sure.
To code. And so I think we want to hone that. We want to build a best-in-class product that speaks for itself. And I think at that point, others are going to want to integrate this because it's easy. It's seamless to put in. And we have to do that. We have to prove that. And then when we prove that, we'll get a chance, we'll raise additional funds to sort of grow the business naturally, as you see a lot of other companies. I mean, we like any early stage business, we don't have enough resources.
Right.
I often talk about sometimes that movie 300, where the army is only, is fighting a much bigger army. We go to battle like 300, and we do the best we can. And I think a lot of people feel like our organization seems bigger, which is good. I take
great
it
compliment.
Compliment,
Yeah, absolutely.
total compliment. But we need more resources,
right?
And we owe the market that, and so I want to earn the right to get more resources to give the market a better experience.
Yeah. It was a blast getting to learn about the company and everything just over the phone, the conversation that we had, and I know we were really digging into that too of the why of all this. It's such an interesting trend for the teen workforce.
Well, you're a dad. You told me you're a dad. You have your kids.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're going to want them to work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know for me, when I look back, and this was a great question prompted by you, is like, what's your first memory of job, right?
Right.
And I know when I look back from a little kid all the way through college, like the best experiences, skill sets that I'm using now, waiting tables, mowing lawns,
right,
feeding horses, all these kind of things. And I am concerned as a dad, like my kids just aren't in that environment, to have that.
We don't see it around us.
Yeah.
And that's when you asked why. Like, it was so obvious to me once this happened. I'm like, there are certain lessons as a parent, you've got to do that the school's not going to do, a summer camp's not going to do, a sports coach isn't going to do, a music teacher isn't going to do, that we still have to do as parents, right? And that's teaching that value system. I'm guessing a parent or parents taught you that. And I know my dad did. I mean, I started working at 12. Right, I was taping boxes at a factory because my family had a business, and I was going to go with my dad. And I said, if everybody else here is going to get paid, I want to get paid. But that started me on a path, and that was something that was taught at home, nowhere else.
Right. Yeah, because especially as, like you mentioned, the economy is great, and everyone's they don't. So many teenagers that don't have to necessarily work,
right.
And especially as parents, you're juggling, right? Because you don't want to take them away from school activities, the school itself, all of those things. But I think it's so critical to schedule this in,
right?
Just like everything else you have to do.
It's funny. I've never thought about it until you just said it, honestly, the have to work.
Yeah.
Work is not just about the 10, 12, 7.25, which is minimum wage here, that you make. We just agreed that it's about so much more than that. Right. That you're doing this business and what you are and who you are as a worker. That's what work is about. It's not all about just now. I get it. A young person wants to make money so they can buy a video game or a burrito. But when you say have to work, I think everybody has to work.
Yeah.
I think you would, if you start to look at the government, being able to take care of yourself is one of the innate human things that you have to do.
Right.
Eat, sleep,
your responsibility
drink,
as a citizen,
as a person, as a
right.
human. Because if you're not working and can't take care of yourself, somebody else has to take care of you. So the more people we raise to take care of themselves, create opportunity, whatever that is, right?
Yeah, that's a great point.
How you take care of yourself can be, there's a range, clearly.
Right.
But knowing how to do it and start from the very earliest, transactions of commerce. And by the way, it's also empowering. I mean, there's statistics I could share with you that you'd be like, really? About what path to put you on besides the money path.
Mm-hmm.
Like getting into college. Teens that work are more likely to get into college over their counterparts. Yeah. Wow. And thing that people don't know that's been proven for the last 50 years is that for every 1 year you work as a teen, you make 14 to 16% more in your 20s. So there's a direct correlation between early work and earning into your 20s.
That's so interesting. Plus just the life skills that you get from having to interact with adults, right? That you maybe don't have to out of your little circle, when you're
it's the best. Like I, especially with social media, you talked about the negative side of it. One of the things is people are really good at facing their screen, right? They're not good at doing this. I notice I'm looking at you while you're talking to me,
right?
Which is, if I was a teen, I'd be used to looking down at my phone. And so just showing up and looking somebody in the eye is a skill that now we have to work on harder. It wasn't easy before, but it's even, harder now with so much focus everywhere else and distraction. So showing up, learning manners, those things, putting them into practice is as a byproduct of these transactions work and so forth. Oh yeah,
and at the same time, a lot of those skills that our young people just have because they're growing up with this technology is now they can use those skill sets on a platform like this and help people.
Well, it's funny, right? It's one of the big things is people love to ask for it. We have a gig that allows you to enable the services of a team to help with technology because they're great at setting up phones and they know all the problems and they know the shortcuts. They've been raised on technology, so who better to turn to than a 17-year-old that's got a fast thumb, right?
Exactly. This is awesome. How can we help? Like my audience, me personally, like how can we help get this word out even more?
Well, first of all, the journey of being an entrepreneur and having an idea and being a disruptor, and it's just hard. So it's amazing the number of people like you who come out of we didn't know each other, and here we are riding around in a great car.
That's right.
But really, sharing the concept that it exists, that you think it's smart, looking for opportunities to invite us into a group. If you're part of a church or a scout troop, invite us there. We're piloting and testing all kinds of different programs, again, to prove out. That's the biggest thing you can do. But book a gig. See for yourself. We believe, what's hard about these two-sided marketplaces is that, you don't get to control the product. But I think the thing that has left the biggest imprint on me is the number of comments we get back about how great the teenagers are. And the sad reality, Jason, is I think I mentioned to you, is that I didn't expect how low the expectations would be for this market. And that stinks. But what you'll be surprised is that our platform is proving that they're far better than what people expect. Awesome. We see that time and time again. And so I just would say, book a gig, have your neighbor book a gig, tell your friends about it, get the app, experience for yourself, and let us know how we can improve the experience for you. Give us feedback so we can be the best platform that
that's great
out there.
Awesome. Well, I encourage all of you to do exactly that. And I love the fact that I hadn't even thought about it in that context until you said that too, that it's fighting that ridiculous connotation out there of, anti-millennial, blah, 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 blah. I think is such BS out there. That it's just a generation, multiple generations of this, and it's no different than anything else. It's just changes and differences.
We owe it. I quite honestly, I always like to say I'm the president of the labor union of teens, because I agree with you. Like, we owe it to them to create opportunities, and I think the miss is, that whole idea of I want them to walk up, a mile uphill in the snow to school.
Right.
That's just doesn't work. There's too much friction. So we're meeting them where they are, and there's nothing wrong with that. That, by the way, it's not just the technology; it's the types of things we're asking them to do. Part-time jobs at Starbucks and McDonald's. You don't see a lot of teenagers, and you won't. So we've had to find new ways for them to share their skills, as like technology or tutoring, where they're amazing, places that you wouldn't have seen them in a time before now. And it's incumbent upon us to sort of give them the chance. We spend so much money on services as a society. They can be a great deliverer of those services.
Oh yeah, and just like, again, as parents, that if you stand there and go, you're crap, guess what? They're going to start acting like crap. But if we tell an entire generation, you're amazing, look at your skill set,
right,
this is incredible, here's how we want to harness and use that, I mean, it's life-changing.
Well, we surround the business with young people. That's one of the things we like to say. We eat our own dog food, right? We love young people, or else we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I think about you and think, if I'm not successful, what are your kids going to do, right? So I'm paying it forward by hiring teens, so that when your kids are teens, somebody will hire them. We're trying to, we're trying to re-energize something that we know is right, because it's hard enough to do it. You need an outlet for them to be able to go find those opportunities. As you said, the outlook for that has changed. And so, that's our dream, is to really make that possible, so that we don't lose our way. Because I feel like we've kind of lost our way with teens.
Yeah.
One of the great parts about being an entrepreneur, there's obviously challenges, but it's the things that you get exposed to. We were fortunate enough to be asked to participate in the United Way ground floor program, which is something that they do for innovative social entrepreneurs. And it's through that, actually, that we discovered sort of this natural shift towards partnerships. We worked with Boys and Girls Clubs in Collin County. We did a couple of pilot programs, and it was amazing to see that of the 24 kids chosen by them to participate, 17 of the 24 earned over $100 in 60 days, to give a chance to kids that otherwise had or would have none, right?
Yeah.
And then currently we're in a program through BBVA, the bank. They have a program called Momentum that they've done all over the world. They're actually, a lot of people don't realize, they're one of the largest banks in the world. They're the largest bank in Spain, and I think they're the fourth largest bank in the U.S. But they really care about social entrepreneurship, and they basically have picked entrepreneurs from across the country. You have to be selected, and it's a program that we get to learn at the University of Texas Business School with really great professors. But beyond that, the idea of the program is to give you access to the bank's resources to help you scale your business.
Wow.
So I have a mentor. In each of these programs, I've had a mentor. So, like I said, it's surrounding the business with what it deserves as my job, and these opportunities that come up. So it's not just all about how much money you raise. It's about being opportunistic.
Oh, sure.
And that's opened up a whole new world to our business that maybe wouldn't have been there.
I bet. Yeah, because investment in your company is all, like, you always want to go after, like, okay, I need the dollars, but who's giving those dollars, and what experience and insights do they have?
And it's what you learn, right? It's what you learn from other entrepreneurs, right? Like I know, you're a business owner. We all learn from each other, and you on one hand, you don't have enough resources, so you're working, but you've got to kind of pick your head up above the water to sort of see, hey, other people have good ideas, and it's important to spend that time. So these types of programs, these types of relationships have been really a big influence on our business. People ask all the time, like, tell me about the kids, tell me what they're doing. They need to have that gig, because you mentioned, right, it's not, that teens working, but since you don't know exactly what you need it for, it's kind of important for us to share the things that they're doing, and what's most popular, right? So people love to use the tutoring for all stuff, sports, creative arts, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
We see a lot of that. We see a lot of stuff around the house. You'd be amazed at how good teens are. I know personally, for me, one of the reasons I was excited about it is I have a pool that I take care of, but I don't love brushing it. So when I first thought about the app, it was all about, like, what would I use a teen for? What would be my gig, right? Like, what's my identifiable gig? And that's just kind of one of those things I don't love to do.
Right.
But really, it's the things we hear, and I keep thinking about this story that, since when we kind of our first year when we had a pilot and a beta, and we were just testing the app, about this guy that he actually lived in my neighborhood. He was in a senior of high school, had tried to apply for jobs and never got hired. And when we met him, came to find out he was on the spectrum for autism, and he wanted to work. He didn't drive, so it was hard for him to get to jobs. But as he started doing gigs, we would hear back. I remember one particular sponsor calling, saying, I worked with this young man, and he was incredible. The ask was for him to help address holiday cards, and he was so meticulous because it was perfect for him, right?
Yeah.
He was good. And just those kinds of stories that we get every day. So, and it is, and it's every day in this business, because, like I said, teens exceed expectations, and all kinds of teens. You hear that. I'm fortunate that people share that. I think because the byproduct of this relationship is you learn so much about each other, and you learn a little bit about yourself in hiring a team too.
Right.
And if nothing else, it reminds you when you were a team, working, and you needed somebody to believe in you. So that's a big thing for us, and it's the currency that is beyond money we raise, money we earn, business size. That's just good humanity.
Oh yeah, and that's the beauty. It doesn't have to, those things don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? Like it's all tie in beautifully, right? Like you in a business that's doing good.
Yeah, and we are definitely a double bottom line business. I mean, we aim to make money, because the more money we make, the more people we can help, because at its core, we're all about helping young people get their first work opportunity.
Right. Yeah. So how do we follow along? What's keep up with you and stalk you on the internet and all that good stuff?
Well, obviously we're on social media. You can follow us at Get Skratch is our handle on all social media. We have a website, skratch.co. People get tripped up with the .co, but obviously there's lots of information about us. There's lots of stuff you can learn on the website about how it works. It should be very easy. And don't be afraid to reach out personally. If you're watching this and you say, I want to ask you myself, we pride ourselves on being responsive. And what's different about us, just to give you a sense, is I know if you've used other platforms, they often don't want you to call them.
Right.
They actually don't have an 800 number. We do, because we're dealing with young people. So if you need to call us, because that's what you're most comfortable with, call us. We'll talk to you about what we're doing. We want to answer questions. We want your feedback. So any way to reach us if you have a question or you want to know, we just want you to have the experience, because I think if you experience it, you'll see that Teamwork Simplified is the way to go.
Oh, that's so fantastic. Thanks so much for being on.
Look, thanks for having me, and big fan of you and your driving. I'm glad you had a good breakfast this morning.
Yes,
I felt safe the whole time.
See? Corn dogs and mac and cheese.
Right. And I noticed that people were looking at us, and it wasn't that your driving was tipping them off, it was just the color of the car. So don't be self-conscious.
Right. I was sweating a little bit.
Thanks.
Awesome.
I really had fun.
If you're in the Dallas area, let's connect in person. I'm at the Coffee House Cafe on Preston, Frankfurt, every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., hosting an awesome meetup where we talk business, startups, and tech. It's an amazing room of people to network with, and most weeks what we do is we dig in and mastermind for the folks in the room and connect everyone to the resources they need to grow. I'll see you there. Man, I am so grateful for Bubble and Scott that they've joined forces like they are. It's a perfect match. And that, the two of them have come together to make this possible. I'm just so excited to have shared this interview with you. Hope you got a lot out of it. Go to skratch.co, download the app, start using it. Like Scott talked about, test the waters. That work ethic that is inherent in so many of them, so many of us, right, from that age on, it can be there a lot of times. Sometimes it doesn't come to fruition because there aren't those opportunities. It finally gets shut down. So do jump in, start using it. Follow Scott and Skratch all over social. And thanks again to Bubble for making this whole thing possible. Amazing rideshare platform. Make sure you check them out as well.
It's Saturday night. It was Saturday night and I'm feeling kinda silly. Winter coat on cause the air was chilly, but I'ma make my way out to the record spot. Gotta find some new breaks for the beats to rock. I gotta come with the flavor like some lifesavers. On now and later is Dr. Beatmaker. If I'm a player, it's like your tape deck. And if you miss the gig, then take a rain check. Stacks of wax piled high to the ceiling, need a U-Haul truck if I would think of